Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video we are going to be talking about this thing here. This is the Uzi MP2A1 by Northeast. Now I'm sure you guys have probably seen quite a bit of hype for this thing on the internet. Deservedly so, it's pretty nuts. We're going to talk in this video about tip to butt, what this thing is like, who it's for, how it's made, and also what it's like to skirmish, because I did actually take it out. I wanted to give it a go. Why did I get this? Well, anyone that watched my mystery box unboxing a few months back will have seen that I actually found my Uzi, which was my first ever airsoft gun. Being that I got that some 26 years ago, it seemed only fitting that when a full steel replica came out that I would kind of have to get my hands on it. Now Northeast announced this, I think it was IWA a couple of years ago, and they teased it, and as soon as I saw it I was like, well, I'm gonna have to get my hands on one of these because it's just too cool. And having seen the Sten that they came out with, now I was lucky enough to get hands on with that thing. My housemate had one. It was insane. Like, the Hopup was terrible. It wasn't a performance piece, so certainly not really a skirmish item, although with tinkering you can make it work. But ultimately my friend ended up getting rid of it because it was exactly that. It was a real like statement piece, and that's kind of where I see this fitting into most people's kind of airsoft arsenal. Now, having taken this out and skirmished it, I can tell you that the problems that this gun has are very real. A few people have pointed out that Negative Airsoft had picked up one of these and done a video all about it with a couple of the fixes, and I must admit I'd gone in and filed away to make the nozzle return a bit smoother. So I'd gone in and done that fix. I don't actually have an O-ring that's the right size to replace it, so I'm dealing with a slightly gnarled up O-ring, but a massive thank you to Luke for putting that one out. Great help in the community there, nice. But there are a few other problems that this gun has. One of them was, obviously, as you've probably seen, sometimes the gun will actually not shoot. Obviously, because we're on camera right now, it'll work. Of course it does. But sometimes when you put the mag in, it just doesn't shoot, and that's what I found when I was actually taking this out skirmishing. So I will need to be bending this back part down, as everyone else does with this as well. I must say, like, this thing is tight. I've already put a couple of scratches on here. As you'll know, I don't like kind of babying my guns. I don't like things that are easily breakable. This is designed to be very, very hard to break, very close to the real thing. Despite the issues that I had with this skirmishing and basically dropping the bolt and it just clicking like that, even with a full magazine, good to go, just wasn't shooting, that still wasn't actually the biggest issue that I found with this particular thing. It may just be because I've had so much time behind red dot sights and EOTechs and just anything with a dot, that these iron sights are rubbish. Like, they're really, really bad, especially in like a CQB environment. So what you'll end up finding yourself doing is obviously just looking over the top of the sights, which is what most people do. It's a shame that you can't get, or you probably can get, an optic mount for this, but it kind of ruins the actual look of what it is. Other than that, it's not particularly comfortable. I might do a foregrip for this, which I would consider getting, because actually when using this, the wrist angle that you have to create it's not comfortable. You're much more likely to kind of want to go like thumb overboard. You can do that because the charging handle doesn't actually reciprocate on the top, but you will just be blocking your sight picture. So as long as you're just shooting over the top. So if you're trying to do some like faster moving but very precise shots, this doesn't really lend itself to doing that particularly. Also, the FPS is a little bit high. I managed to game it by using 144 AGAS, and it came in at 335 FPS using a 0.2 gram BB. So that was fine, I could take it out, and I had a lot of fun with it, but it was kind of more frustrating than fun.
Fuck! Coming down the stairs! Hit! This northeast is shit! Like this fucking gun, man.
Once I sort the shooting issues, actually the terrible sight picture, that's not going to just suddenly disappear. The fact that the trigger on this it's bad. So when I say it's a bad trigger, let's ghost it together in true Garand thumb style. So it's you do have a wall here, so quite smooth up to the wall, then it's kind of mush and no discernible break. So we'll do that again. Mush mush, like just no, probably like, yeah, a couple of pounds. Let's see what the trigger pull gauge is actually saying for this. Right around £3. £3 10 ounces on that one. £3 1 ounce. £3 2 ounces. So right around the £3 mark. It's just so mushy though, and the actual travel for the reset is quite long. That's the wall. This is all mush. That's the brake. So there's not really a lot of over travel, but that reset is long. So yeah, no over travel there. That's weird. It's kind of, if you do it slow enough, that it's, maybe it's because I wasn't gripping tight enough. That's odd. Let's put a mag in and just see. Obviously there's nothing in the mag. Well, this is the one that's on dry fire. Okay, let's try this again. So the gun is on semi, as you can see. That is full auto. That's concerning. If you really gently pull the trigger, one. What I'll do is if I sort of help my finger to go slowly. We are again still on semi. You've got to be like, if you pull it affirmatively, kind of that's not great. That's not great at all. It's quite a difficult gun to shoot quickly, let's put it that way. So, let me see if I can show you what I mean. That's kind of me rattling off shots as fast as I can. With an MWS or an AK, I can do a lot faster than that. So it doesn't really lend itself to be fast shooting, and you kind of want a submachine gun to shoot fast. Obviously, if you put it on full auto, then you do get a pretty tasty rate of fire. There you go. That was it not working. So if I do it again, it probably won't shoot. Oh, just wants to take the piss out of me. So kind of chugs along nicely there. Does respond a little bit differently when we put BBs in it, and we're going to do that in a minute. But let's just move on to the mags. Now I've got a couple, and I think the biggest issue with these is the fact that the inner and the outer just separate from one another. And as you can see on here, this is where the magazine actually locks into the gun. That's on the outer, but the guns feed and the BBs get stripped off the inner, and you can see there is a gap developing there. It kind of goes in and goes out. You can kind of push it to kind of like tighten the gap up a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Like eventually it'll, you know, after a few inserts, it's just going to start coming out again. I think because I want to be able to maintain the magazines that I've got, I still think probably the best way is going to be to glue it, and then potentially use like a hairdryer to heat the glue up if I ever want to like take it apart again. Obviously take the gas out first. But yeah, potentially do that. Hot glue gun, maybe. I think Dave Wong did that, if you want to check his stuff on this. But anyway, so magazines, not amazing. There is actually a, they take 32 BBs, and they hold enough gas to get through the 32 BBs, like just. But you can actually remove the rod from the front and the bottom here, which I think allows you to get 40 something BBs in there, which is much more what you'd expect from a magazine of this length. But they kept it at 32 to keep it realistic to the real thing, which I think is quite a nice touch. And the fact that there's just a rod that you can remove and then, you know, you're sorted. I think this has also got an inlet restricting tube in it as well. I've not actually had to take the magazine apart, but I'm pretty sure that someone else has, and they've put it on YouTube. So if I can find it, I will put a link to the video down below. But if there is indeed a tube in here, it means that you can do a green gas mod. Whether or not that's a good idea, it's kind of up to you, but it will mean that you can get more liquid gas into the magazine, and therefore in theory more shots. With this, as I said, you can't, unless you're shooting on full auto, you can't really shoot it fast. So, you know, take that what you will. You've probably already seen from everyone else, like the construction on this is just solid steel. Like the one thing you realise when you pick this thing up, like it's no part of this is going to break. You don't have to worry about, oh damn, did I do that a bit too hard? No, don't worry about it. Like nothing on here is going to break at all, apart from the actual like apart from the bolt, the nozzle, maybe the trigger mechanism. But I mean, and you can even see like how tatty it kind of looks back here. I think that's how the real steel is. But this colouring, like this looks amazing. Like this sort of like urban grey kind of colour. It's just like the colour of the 80s, like greys and browns. But you can see on here the actual markings on it. They're okay. It would have been nice. They're deep enough that you can see them. I would have liked deeper, but I think they're probably again pretty close to the real deal. You can see on here your markings for safe, fire, and full auto. This lever is seriously stiff. You've got a sling mount here. You then got obviously your wing blades and an adjustable front sight. Then you also on the back you have the wing blades, which basically means that obviously if you smack this into anything, it's not going to destroy the sights. And you've got a 100 and 200 meter apertures. Both of them are, it's stiff to move, but they are tiny. You've then got this piece just in front here, which moves back, and that means that you can take the top cover off. Even when you move it, the top cover doesn't want to come off. Like, you're not going to have to worry about that. The way that this stock works as well, that you've got this reinforcement on one side, but not kind of on the other. I don't know whether this is so it can get past body armor or something like that, but what I can tell you is this is a right-handed gun. This is not lefty friendly at all. So you'll see what I mean a bit when we sort of go over the fire controls and everything. But in order to take the stock down, it's just you pull down on this part here, and what there is underneath here is you'll see like a small ball bearing there that basically locks in to this part on the inside here, and then the whole thing will kind of rock down. So as it clips in, it doesn't matter which order it does it, so you can either clip this part in here. So you'll notice this here is flush, and then we'll go over there and it sticks up there. So that is what you push in order to put it down again, but it only appears when you open the stock up. On this side, again, you'll probably see here, this is slightly, there is a gap here. As it opens, that gap closes. So in order to close it, pinch tight, this folds up, press on here, and what actually happens is you can't close this part and then do this, because that's what this big trunnion at the back here is all about. So you actually have to kind of lock it into that first, then lock it there, and that's what kind of gives it the, and that's why people open it like that. I have, well, when it's open, there is a little bit of wobble. I have no fear of this stock breaking, coming loose, wobbling, you know, in any unnecessary kind of way. It's great, it's really solid. So let's talk about the fire controls and why they are only really for right-handed people. We're going to do that by putting it left-handed. So first of all, you have no easy way to actuate the fire selector there at all. Like, it's quite uncomfortable on your index finger as well, because it's obviously pointed, so that's annoying, but you still have to get round it in order to get to the trigger. So the fact that you have to press this in with the webbing of your hand also means that you have to be pressing hard enough. So that's going to be pretty uncomfortable after a very short period of time. So not a win there. Also, the magazine release is on this side, so in order to take the mag out, certainly you can come over with your other hand if you've got small enough hands. Now, I only have kind of medium-sized hands, and you can see I'm pretty much taking up the whole grip. If you're wearing gloves and stuff as well, and you've got bigger hands, it's going to be quite difficult. You're probably going to have to switch hands. So essentially, this is much easier for a right-handed person. After a little while, you can, oh, it's so stiff. If you're holding it in the right direction, you can manipulate everything with just your thumb, but it is really stiff. It has broken in a little bit, but not a lot. So in order to actually cock the gun, so I've got it on safe at the moment here. Even if I hold this part in, you can't cock it. So if I put it on to fire mode, so we'll put it on single shot, if you're not holding the back here, again, you still can't cock it. So you've got to be holding the back, then you can cock it, and there is no point in sort of gently doing it, because you may get a hang up. You just got to, every time, just in whatever way you want. Also, this cocking handle, look how gnarled it is, like at the front, even at the back, like all the way round, and the fact that it's sloped up as well, it just lends itself to being grabbed really easily. You don't really have to worry about breaking anything here. It's going to be fine. So in order to actually shoot it, it fires from an open bolt, which means that it has a really strange recoil impulse, but this is a bit like a Mach 11. So anyone that's shot a Mach 11, it's really snappy, really responsive. This is not like that. There is a noticeable delay between you pulling the pretty mushy trigger and the shot actually like coming off. So if you're used to like good guns, then you're really going to notice that this kind of doesn't perform in that way, but it's really not supposed to. This is what I would call like an amazing replica that happens to shoot BBs. They have done a couple of things though, and the first question that I asked when these first came in stock anywhere was, what's the Hopup system like? So I'm really pleased to say in here it is a VSR spec barrel and like bucking rubber, whatever you want to call it. Everything in here is basically gas blowback. If you're familiar with the Tokyo Marui platform, then you're going to be able to work on this. There are a couple of pins that you got to punch out here, and there's a couple of screws. I haven't gone in yet and done it, but I will. It's something that I'm going to be doing, simply because I want this to be able to shoot at about 310 to 330 feet per second with a 0.2 gram BB. That gives me a little bit of sort of like flexibility in the summer and the winter months. At the moment it's the middle of summer, so I would expect it to be shooting like 330 or so. That would be fine for me. There isn't any reason to have a subgun shooting harder than that. The fact that this comes shooting like 380 on green gas out the box, I think is too much for a subgun. However, I was told if you contact Northeast, you can get them to send you a 1 dual nozzle. So I'm going to contact them and ask if I can have a 1 dual nozzle before I fork out on a new inner barrel. But that would kind of be my chosen way to change the FPS. And actually, I wanted to give this an opportunity to break in, and I wanted to take it out into a game just to make sure that I could get plenty of shots through it before I do kind of any accuracy testing or kind of look at, you know, other things that I want to improve with the platform. That being said though, I'm really impressed with this, and what I want to do now is give a massive shout out to Hopup, specifically Mike from Hopup, who managed to get this for me. I think it was the last one that was in the country at the time, or the second to last one that was in the country, and he really sorted me out. So a massive thank you to Mike once again for coming through for me on something that was a bit sort of rare and a bit different. What else is there to say, or should we just shoot now? I need to set up some things so I can actually do some shooting with this, but suffice to say, like, it is very fun to shoot. You do feel a little bit like Arnie. It is kind of reliving those, like, if you lived through like the 90s, this was pretty like iconic, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, it's featured in a lot of films. I didn't realise how many films this is featured in as a good guy gun, because I always think of the Uzi as being a bad guy gun, but it's actually quite a good guy gun in a lot of films. So anyway, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what your favourite film that features an Uzi is. I'd be interested to know. I think for me, probably it's got to be Terminator, hasn't it? Like, come on, Uzi 9mm. Yeah, this is why we all know the absolutely iconic Uzi. Look at this, like how cheap and nasty the plastic furniture looks. Like, they've got it right. Like, they really have made it look like the real thing. So my GoPro overheated and stopped filming for me, but it doesn't matter. It meant that I had a chance to set everything up. So we are going to test what the FPS is like on this thing. So I'm using 0.2 gram BBs and green gas. I've completely filled the mags. We've got 32 BBs in there. So, yep, didn't need to do that. Didn't need to wreck it. But right, let's first off, let's just do a couple of shots on semi. So that's 383 FPS. That came in at a whopping 413 FPS. God, I hope that's wrong. Time out. 413, 415, 410, 415, 415. So it's pretty consistent, but it is really, really high. It is like 30 degrees at the moment, 30 degrees C, so that is pretty warm. When I took this out and gamed it, it certainly wasn't that. And using 144 got me down to, like, yeah, like I said, 335. Wow, this is really pokey today. All right, let's see if I can get a reading for the rate of fire. So right there, we were down at 362 FPS at 17.55 rounds per second. That's a bit much, really. That's too high to game. Certainly in the UK, you wouldn't want to be using this in close quarters with green gas. Let's see how many more shots I can get off this. Okay, so obviously it didn't lock back there. This is not the dry fire one, but obviously that was at a full mag. Let's get some more BBs in there. Let's try again. yeah, it did that in game as well, so that's gas out. Didn't sound like there was a lot of gas. It still seems pressurized. Okay. There we go, and we are done. Yeah, tiny little bit of gas left in there. As you can see, if we're going to talk about something like reliability, which is kind of what you want in a skirmish weapon, then this thing doesn't really have it out of the box. So this isn't really the kind of gun that anyone, if you're starting airsoft, people, you know, say like, what is the best starter gun? Like, definitely not this, I would say. However, the best starter gun is the gun that you really like, and the gun that you're going to have an absolute blast using. It tends to be, you won't always go for the most sensible option. People always advise you to go for something like a G&G combat machine, and yeah, I would probably do the same if you're just kind of getting into airsoft. This is a different animal. This is not for the light of heart. First off, it's heavy, it's expensive, the mags are expensive, but what you get with it is a feeling like no other gun. It will be frustrating. You will struggle to get a crazy kill streak like you would with maybe an MWS or an MP7 or something like that. Yeah, this is a real challenge gun.
Yeah, got a fucking easy kill.
But if you've been playing airsoft for a little while, you know, you kind of know what to expect with this. The fact that you can upgrade certain parts of it, the fact that Northeast will give you a one dual nozzle, you can change the inner barrel, you can change the hop up. It means that you can make this a bit skirmishable. The sights on it for me are probably one of the biggest letdowns. I know that you can certainly get over the light striking, well, it's not really light striking, but the hammer not striking the magazine gas release. You can get around that by bending the top here down. So I know a couple of the fixes. I wanted to take out and game it kind of as was, you know, as it like comes out of the box, and ultimately, yeah, that wasn't the wisest decision. But knowing that my friend had picked up a Northeast stent, now he ended up shooting the bolt out of it, and he cracked the bolt ever so slightly, or I think he broke part of the nozzle on it, and he contacted Northeast, and they just sent him a complete replacement bolt. Even though I think not all of it was broken, they could have just changed a certain part of it. But you know, there is a heavy kind of buying cost, but Northeast really are trying to like stamp their name as being like a quality manufacturer that really kind of takes care of their customers. And I would say certainly from the experience of my friend, knowing that he's done that, you know, they treated him really well. He certainly like told me all about it, and that, you know, certainly made me think twice when coming to get one of these, and it kind of encouraged me in the direction of, you know what, actually it's probably, if anything breaks on this, reaching out to Northeast is probably the first thing that you should do. It is really cool. It's just yeah, there is just something about this that I really like. It's meaty, it's chunky, it's not particularly ergonomic. It sometimes doesn't shoot when you want it to. Actually, it does sometimes shoot when you don't want it to as well. So there's nothing in there here. It doesn't obviously hold anything in the chamber, but like the real deal, if you half pull the bolt back, notice where my finger is, that fired. So this gun is yeah, true to the real steel down to every little problem. I think it's cool. I think you guys will probably think it's cool. I certainly enjoyed using it. I would have liked if it had worked a little bit better, to be perfectly honest with you. But it is what it is. I'm going to probably contact Northeast, try and get my upgraded nozzle, and then maybe take this out again and give it another shot. So, in conclusion, the Northeast Sten, who's it for? Well, it's kind of for collectors. It's not really for skirmishers. You can skirmish it, but you have to do various things in order to make it work. As you can see, it's not the most reliable of weapon. It is kind of, I don't want to say riddled with issues, but it does have plenty. And being that it's a new platform to the market, you do expect that. You expect there to be like a few issues. But if you are newer to the sport, then this is probably not going to be the gun for you. As cool as it looks, it's just not going to perform, and it's going to mean that you're going to have a really frustrating time if you do try and use it to skirmish. If you're a collector, then 100% go pick one of these up. It is the most realistic airsoft replica of an Uzi that you are going to find out there. I personally love the fact that it's the MP2A1, it's parkerized steel, it's really, really cool. Just a few issues that you've got to be mindful of. But anyway guys, hopefully you've enjoyed my little take on the Northeast Uzi. And if you've got any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments down below. But until the next time guys, take care and I'll see you soon.